New documents obtained by Idaho News 6 shedding light on details surrounding the suspect involved in the police pursuit that left a Nampa PD K9 dead and an officer injured. I'm neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker with reactions from law enforcement expressing frustration over regular interactions with suspects they say should still be in custody. Could a pursuit in Nampa last month have been prevented? The suspect police were pursuing was out on parole, and we now know Tanner Howe had already violated his parole twice in the 2 weeks leading up to the pursuit. Although Howe ended up not being in the car at the time, the pursuit ended in a rollover crash and the death of Nampa Police K9 Riddick. According to new documents obtained by Idaho News 6, Howe admitted to using drugs in early September and failed drug tests on the 5th and 18th. Terms of his parole clearly prohibit use of a controlled substance not lawfully prescribed.
Well, obviously hindsight's 2020. However, I can tell you that, well, my opinion now, it was a bad release. He should have stayed in the Department of Corrections. Looking at some of his records, he was released in late July of 2024. There were several violations of his parole.
Howe was sentenced to serve time through 2026, but was released in July after completing rehabilitation requirements in prison. His release, though legal, leaves Nampa Police Chief Joe Huff and his department frustrated as repeat offenders impact the Treasure Valley community.
So basically within 2 months, there was at least 2 parole or violations that he committed that would have, in my opinion, should have put him back in the system because he wasn't being a productive member of the community.
Chief Huff says this isn't an isolated case. He tells me in the past 2 months alone, Nampa officers have encountered over a dozen parolees with offenses such as DUI crashes, felony domestic violence, and child endangerment.
I can tell you this isn't a one-off case, though. We deal with parolees and probationers frequently, as do other police departments across the state of Idaho, that it's frustrating for us and our law enforcement officers that we're continuing to deal with these people, and it doesn't seem, at least from our seat, it doesn't seem like, they're put back into custody, if ever, or not soon enough.
I asked IDOC about parole violation policy, and they told me after a failed drug test, if the parolee has been proactively communicating with their parole officer, an appropriate response would be to first attempt to get that person meaningfully engaged in treatment. The documents show Howe was ordered to start treatment on September 18th. It's an issue impacting law enforcement across the Treasure Valley. Garden City Police Chief Corey Stambaugh shares similar sentiments, telling me his officers were involved in a pursuit in July with a suspect who had a lengthy criminal history, out on parole. He says that suspect should have been serving his sentence as an inmate. Had he not been released prior to his sentence satisfaction date, this incident would not have happened. While Idaho police departments wait for answers, the focus remains on protecting the community and preventing repeat offenders from causing further harm.
Hopefully we can start having some more conversations with Pardons and Parole Commission. I wouldn't be doing my job if I was just sitting back and saying, well, this one just squeaked through the system. Maybe bring everybody to the same room and the table and, figure out what can we do differently? How can we help you as law enforcement as you can help us as the Pardons and Parole Commission? Stephanie
Ketterman and Tanner Howe are still in custody. Ketterman is facing a long list of charges accused of driving that car. Howe is being held on probation violations. I'm neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker for Idaho News 6.